And we're back. We got
Hey,
another one.
what's going on, Dante? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
All right, not too bad here. I mean, running
I
around
hear
a
it.
little bit.
Let's take care of some housekeeping notes. This episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, refinancing, or investing, call Epic today. That's 708-905-5300. 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals. Let's plan together. Vince, give them your contact information.
Again, my name is Vincent. Last name Bertocchini. Everyone calls me Vince. My Epic email is vince@epic.mortgage, and my cell phone number, if anybody wants to reach out and have a further conversation on any topic, 708-359-8578. Again, 708-359-8578.
Awesome. All right, let's get to some homes for sale. We got some homes for sale.
Yeah, I noticed you've been putting those out there on those featured listings. This is good.
Yeah, no, this is important. What we do is we build relationships with realtors out there in the area, and we ask. We're licensed in multiple states, so it doesn't matter if you're in Denver, Colorado. It doesn't matter if you're in Houston, Texas, Tallahassee, Florida. We can help you. We can help you market your listings and try to get a buyer. We're trying to help that buyer close on their future home. So we have some preferred listings right here. We have 2436 Planters Mill Way, Conyers, Georgia. This is a property going for $399. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath home. Contact Angela Pinnell, 404-425-4660. So if you're in the Conyers, Georgia area, that's definitely an opportunity. We also have 1100 South 3rd Avenue, Maywood, Illinois. That's basically a suburb of western suburb of Chicago. That's going for 405. It's a 5-bedroom, 2-bath property. Contact Tamika Bishop, 630-479-6352. And she, as a listing agent, working with the seller, she's actually offering closing cost credits up front so buyers can take advantage of a 2-1 buy down. Vince, you know about 2-1 buy down. What is that?
It's, I mean, it's an upfront payment to bring the market rate down to a teaser rate or lower the interest rate for a short term of the financing. So basically, the first 2 years of the loan. So if you're at a 6%, you go down to 4, then you go to 5, and then you go back to your 6.
Exactly. So obviously, if rates are going right around 6% right now, here's a great opportunity to take advantage, and you can actually get an interest rate down to basically like in the 4% area right now. So 2-1 buy down on this 1100 South 3rd Avenue, Maywood, Illinois. Definitely take advantage. Next up is 8228 South LaSalle, Chicago. This property is going for $250,000. It's a 3-bed, 1-bath property, and this is a contact Amico Pope. That's 808-428-3770. And this is a great opportunity. We also have 5544 South California Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. This is going for $394,900. This is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath property. Contact Victor Naranjo, 708-830-4734. And then we got some commercial properties too, because we do some commercial lending. A lot of people don't realize that, but we just brought that in this year. So we got 2 properties. We got a warehouse. If you are an investor looking to have warehouse storage, there's a property 1413 East End, Chicago Heights. It's going for $165. That's a phenomenal deal. Commercial storage facility. Contact Amico Pope once again at 808-428-3770. We also have a former Burger King. It used to be a Burger King, then it was a title company, but now it's on sale. So whether you're trying to have a hookah bar or some type of lounge, it's 1645 Western Avenue in Chicago Heights, Illinois. Contact Keith Terry for more information on that property. Keith Terry, I did not write his number down. I'm sorry, Keith, but that's 773-655-1360. 773-655-1360. And then we got 2 more here. We have 14327 Lincoln Avenue, and that's in Dalton, Illinois. The seller is a client of mine. I helped him purchase, and now he's ready to sell. He has a property selling for $225. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. Contact Evelyn Woods at 773-718 9742. That's 773-718-9742. Great opportunity there, especially for a first-time home buyer. And then we also, our final, last but not least, our preferred listing is at 548 East 50th Street, Unit 3, and that's in Chicago, Illinois. It's a brand new condo on the market. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's a big condo.
Yep.
Contact Jessica Roberson at 708-722-5106. 708-722-5106. So those are our preferred listings that we have. So definitely, if you are interested in any properties, we can help you get those definitely under contract and into you. And then I just want to give heads up. Today is Thursday. So Big Thursday is always the new podcast interview. So Epic Spotlight, if you're on YouTube or wherever you download a podcast, we have a new interview and was with Raina Kilgore. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified alcohol and drug counselor with over a decade of experience in human and social services. I had the pleasure to speak with her, talk about, just we help people buy homes, Vince, but then it's actually what happens inside the home that is.
There you go, right? And it's nice that you do something that's outside the mortgage industry too, to the audience, just to bring other different aspects to it.
Appreciate that, because actually buying a house is really about a lifestyle. And so, one of the things that I wanted to do was interview interesting people and talk about outside of, just mortgage lending. That's what I do, obviously, but what's really going on. So wanted to definitely bring that into the mix. And we actually have Miss Yolanda Peavy.
Yeah, I thought she wasn't gonna show. She was a couple minutes late trying to figure out the technology. And then she realized Vince was on the show. So yeah, she showed up. It's all right. Hey, Yolanda, how are you?
Hey, of course, Vince, I had to come. I could not miss you.
There you go.
Yeah, so Yolanda, let the audience know who you are and what do you do?
Okay, so I have a really bad connection, so hopefully I'm not as choppy as you guys are. So I am pleased to be on the show again. My name is Yolanda Peavy, as mentioned. I am a certified bookkeeper as well as a tax preparer, strategist, business consultant. I'm licensed in a couple different things from life insurance to property and casualty insurance. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I also help businesses also get certified. So I know that has been a topic of discussion due to the new presidency coming in and making some changes. But please know that it is still a much needed certifications for minority business owners. It's definitely something to look into.
Why don't you unpack that a little bit? What exactly do you do with businesses as far as certifications go?
So a lot of us may have heard of minority business certification, women business certification, veteran business certification. So these certifications, the easiest way for me to sum it up would be it's a seal of approval, right? That means that your business has met certain requirements in order for the government agency, be it the city of Chicago, Cook County, state of Illinois, and then there's other national agencies that award these certifications to give your stamp. They stand behind your business. So, for example, ComEd has partnered with some different distributors to supply a program to provide the cost that's associated with getting certified, be it with the city of Chicago. And again, if your business is into construction, plumbing, electricity. So you want to get certified. So it allows you to basically get past some red tape or doors easier than if you did not have this seal of approval or certification. So I walk you through that process.
That's awesome. I remember way back when in 2008, I tried to certify my business, Full Court Services, another company that I own. And, I was putting bids out with like government and state contracts. And so that's probably in your world. And it's still very competitive. There's a lot of businesses out there I didn't realize.
Very much so. And that's why I want to make sure that people do not miss the opportunity to get a certification, because again, it can help open doors that maybe you would not be able to open if you didn't have that certification. Again, you get added to their directory depending on which agency you go through to get your certification. But again, now your business is in a database that they would have never known about you if you didn't have this certification. So you're opening doors just by getting the certification.
Awesome. I feel like the pandemic opened the doors for government to know about a lot of businesses when people were tapping into some of that free money. You know,
they're coming back too, trying to find out if the
I
SBA
100%
was a
agree.
real small business too, man. They're coming back around on some of that.
oh yeah, no, it's everything wasn't meant to be for free, so you're gonna pay eventually. But also too, one of the things, you are a licensed life insurance
Especially if
agent,
you didn't
correct?
do it right.
That's true too. You're a life insurance agent,
Yes,
right?
I am. So I am.
You're a life insurance.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So
There is a huge delay. I don't know if you guys.
I think we're okay now. Hopefully we're caught up. You with me
Okay.
now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, they, obviously one of the things we talk about is just the three components: credit, income, and assets. And so assets is, the seed money, right? For anybody that's trying to do a real estate investment, anyone that is trying to do a purchase, you have to have money saved. And so one of the ways you can kind of save and grow money is through life insurance. And I wanted to talk about that today.
So I would definitely tell anyone, and I think when you make the decision to start the path of trying to get home ownership, one, be patient with yourself, be patient with your realtor, and definitely be patient with your loan or mortgage person, because it is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. And then your next conversation, once we get you to that closing table, should be, hey, now that I made this huge investment, how do I make sure that my family is protected if something should happen to myself, my wife, or if I'm not married, just me, to make sure that my children are taken care of? And that would be something as simple as a term life insurance policy that would allow, if something happens to you, that home is paid off. So now your family don't have to worry about how do we make sure the mortgage gets paid, because that has been taken care of with that term policy. And then from a business owner perspective, it doesn't help far as a lowering your tax liability. However, it is a strategy that can be used for retirement. So instead of a term policy, which I think everybody should have, but in regards to the other products that a life insurance can offer, which are whole life, you have IULs, then you have variables. So different things. Variables are the ones that are in the market. So there's a lot of different avenues. As an entrepreneur, you want to be strategic, and you're also planning for retirement as well. So life insurance can help in that aspect as well.
That's awesome. And obviously there's different types of life insurance. So you want to unpack that?
Sure. So as I mentioned, term, to keep it really simple, think of term as if you're renting, right? It's for a period of time. Once your lease is up, that term policy is done. At the same time, you have a time frame. So we can have 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and that's how long that policy will last. You pay for it every month, or you can do it every year, but you will pay into it for that amount of time. Once you come to that 10, 20, 30 years, the policy is done. You got to think about it from this perspective. You have given yourself 20, 30 years to live. And if you die within that time frame, then whatever that amount of that policy is, it pays out. So for example, I have a term policy for my home. So if something happens to me, it will pay my home off, and my children, which are grown now, but it will be paid off. So it's a piece of asset that they will have. From a business owner, or even just a W-2 employee, everyone, when you work for a job, they provide insurance for you. Typically, it's maybe 1 times your salary, or maybe $20,000. But as long as you're with that company, you have that policy. If you leave that company, then you most likely get a packet, and they'll ask you if you want to keep that policy. Typically, that's a term as well, but you can convert it over to a whole life. Whole life policy is what you want to think about when we get a mortgage, right? We're paying into something. It's building equity. It's building an asset that I can borrow against or pull money out. And it's the same thing with a whole life policy. An IUL, which is also something that grows with money, grows money over time. It has a floor, which means you can't go under a certain number as far as an interest rate. And then it's also a ceiling. So you can't go as high as a certain number depending on the policy itself. Then you have what is called a variable whole life policy. And again, a percentage of that money that's paid into it is in the market. So again, depending on where you are in life, what you're trying to do, anything that's growing money is not going to be on the cheap side. Term policies can be as low as $20, $30 a month, and it can be for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 worth of coverage. But again, that's for a period of time. And unfortunately, if you have not passed away during that period of time, then that money is just you paying into it for protection. Same thing like with car insurance. If you never have an accident, guess what? You've been paying for that protection if something should happen.
Got it. And then obviously there is a return on premium policy, right? Out there.
It is. It is. So a lot of, again, depending on the insurance company you go through, some offer it, some don't. And it's simply return on premium is just exactly what it is. So if once you're done with the policy, typically insurance companies, they don't want to get the money back. So they may try to suggest another product, right? So you can convert it over, transfer it over instead of you getting the premiums back. Depending on how much you've paid into it, it's a percentage. It's not all of them. It is a percentage because again, you were paying for coverage. So you can then take that money and then move it over into a whole life. So now you start off in the positive with that whole life policy because you have that equity or that base that was there versus you building it over time.
Yeah, I mean, the concept I always thought about was like betting on yourself, right? So it's most times it's encouraged to get life insurance at a younger age. Yes. So, maybe you're 20 years old, 25 years old, because the premiums are cheaper as you're younger. They increase as you get older. And obviously we have medical issues. Yes. We have pre-existing conditions that, all of a sudden develop out of nowhere. And so if we could get it earlier, and maybe you do a return on premium, let's say 20 year, 30 year out, then I think is it about 90%? Let's say you invest.
Give a take on the company.
Okay, so, give a take on the company. Let's just use a simple number. So if you invested $50,000, over a course of 20, 30 years, let's say you did get 90% of that money back, so that's, roughly, where's my math? That's 45,000.
Yeah.
And then, thank you. I better know that. So you take this 45,000 and then now you can apply it to, because you have a lump sum of money, now you can apply it. And the reason why you would potentially do that, and I've always liked it that way, is because I plan on making the money and saving the money another vehicle. And so I kind of want that money, I need this. Hey, if something were to happen to me, especially if I got family, I got kids, education, is there a certain amount of money that we should try to accumulate? I know there used to be a formula. Is there a formula that you kind of go by?
In regards to accumulating for
the life insurance, like how much money should I get? Should it be 5 times my income? Is it based on it
used to be very simple. And I'm going to say probably within the last 3 to 4 years it's changed because we have so many more entrepreneurs getting their feet wet in that space. So I definitely say if we make 100,000, we need to definitely 5 times that. And that's just my personal projections that I do with my clients. And here's the reasons why. Of course, today, how expensive are eggs? Let's just say eggs, okay? How expensive are property taxes? So you have to account for inflation. And so when we only cover what we make today, that is not going to give your family enough to live off of. If we make 100,000, our home is valued at 250,000. We know baseline would be 250,000, right? We want to make sure that home is completely paid off. Your family won't have to worry about how we're going to get a mortgage paid. Now the only thing that they're worried about is property taxes and homeowners insurance, right? So that's a very more small a bill to account for than potentially $2,000 or $3,000 per month if that home when breadwinner passes away. So again, depending on where you are financially, because it's hard, right? The money is not what it didn't stretch It doesn't stretch as much as it used to. So sitting down with someone that understands insurance to help you walk through, okay, let's look at, because you have to look at it from a holistic perspective, even if we're just buying term insurance. You know, what can the family afford? Because this is something that you cannot say, oh, wow, you know what, I don't have it, I can't pay it. This is not one of those bills that you can put off. You know, if you don't pay it, guess what? You don't have it anymore. And God forbid, if something should happen to you, now you don't have that coverage.
I got a call last week from a client that we did a deal for, I would say about 4 months ago, and it was a cash out refinance. And they called me back and they said, hey, we took out, X amount of dollars, but we need more money. We miscalculated. They're doing some projects around the house, and they just miscalculated how much money they thought they would need. They assumed that they would only need, X amount of dollars, let's just say 50,000, but now they recognize, man, we need it closer to 80,000. Can we get some more money out? And to your point with life insurance, you only get one time, it's, or can you buy multiple policies? I guess I should ask that.
You can. The only time that it will become an alert for any insurance companies is that now we're at 10, 15 times your life value.
Right.
And what I mean that you got a $20 million policy and you only make $100,000. Now the insurance company
they don't want to see us stacking policies on top of each other and overlapping to a certain extent, right?
Correct. You cannot.
Yeah.
So you want to just be careful. You can have multiple policies. And what I mean by that, of course, for our real estate investors, right? You can purchase policies, and typically those are your term policies for your properties, right? This is part of your portfolio. So that's different. But if I am a regular 9-to-5, employee that makes maybe $150,000 a year, and now I got a $20 million life insurance policy, and they're gonna be like, let's talk through this. What's going on? So insurance companies can push back, they can decline or deny you. Same thing, I just want to piggyback really quickly off the children. If you have small children, please, this is the best investment that you could ever make for your child. They are the youngest, healthiest that you will ever be. And once they are approved, that rate doesn't change. Okay, it just continues to grow with them as long as we have a whole life policy. So we can't do that on a term. It does have to be permanent insurance. So that's another term that you will hear outside of whole life. It has to be permanent insurance. Once they get approved, that policy you can add, as long as you add the appropriate riders, depending on the insurance company that you go with, you're able to increase that value of that policy. And because it's whole life, it does grow cash value at a compound interest. So those are things that you can use for college, purchasing first homes, buying cars. And because you are the owner, guess what? You have access to that money. So in the example that Dante just gave, hey, if that client did have some whole life insurance policies that they've had for over maybe 10 or 15 years, guess what? There's equity or cash value in those policies that they could pull out and make up that difference. And guess what? They don't have to account for that on any tax returns or, any of those things now. Yeah. So
that's the big thing too, right? We don't look at it too much, but life insurance policies are exempt from taxes, majority of them, the way they're structured. So correct. At the end of the day, if a life event happens and you lose a spouse and you have kids, it's pure, straight, tax-free money.
Yes.
There's no inheritance. There's no nothing. It is just that. I've had some life experience where things are that way. I have a couple questions, just kind of build on the stuff you've talked about. I've always been a fan of buy term, invest the rest. And basically, right, the whole theory is no need for whole. It is what it is, and just buy long-term term policies, right? As an example, a 30-year term policy when you're 30 years old is cheaper than doing it when you're 40 years old.
Correct.
Same thing going to the 20-year-old buying a 30-year term, right?
Yes.
You can't buy the term until you reach the right age to the structure of how I looked at it. But can you touch on the riders a little bit for the audience from the standpoint of you can get riders to convert long-term term into permanent?
Yes. And again, I want to just stress, because all life insurance companies are not the same. So I can even talk, I currently hold policies with New York Life. which is one of the top grade insurance companies to have. They used to offer child riders. Guess what? They don't offer that anymore. And what that simply means is that I have a policy on myself, and then I have children that I can attach to that policy. And so when they get of age, 18 or older, then I can transfer that rider to its own single individual policy. So that's a rider. So then there is the waiver of premium rider. So basically, if something should happen to you, and again, not all insurance companies are the same, but you can definitely ask to see if they offer it. And if you do currently have a policy, you can definitely ask your agent about it. If something should happen to you, medically get sick, you have an employment interruption, you're able to reach out because you've been paying into your policy and you have this rider. Then what will happen is if you meet the requirements that the insurance company offers, they then will pick up and start paying your premium for you so you don't lose your policy. Because the policies are, if we don't pay on a monthly basis and if we don't have that rider, they will give you some time to get caught up. But after, I want to say over 30 days, then they actually ex-nate the policy. So you want to look into like a waiver of premium. Like I said, certain insurance companies still do offer riders, children riders. Then there's also the waiver. It just flew out of my head. The one that Dante just mentioned in regards to getting your premiums back. That's also a rider. Then you have your spousal rider. So when I tell you there's tons of them.
There's tons of them.
There's tons, depending, again, I want to stress, not all insurance companies offer the same. They are graded A, B, and C, and even D. And again, those alphabets do represent what they stand for. A is at the top, B, C, and D. And again, all insurance companies don't pay out the same. Some have certain requirements. As we stated before, the younger you are, the better. Men will always pay more. Sorry, guys, on life insurance. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
So, and that's just because of, statistics, right? Men are a lot more ambitious in the past. They may be changing it. They haven't just yet, because a lot more women are in much more dangerous industries now. But that was how they came up with that rating. So there is, depending on the value or how much of insurance you're trying to get covered for, will require a health screening. I know here in Illinois, marijuana is legal, but not on the federal side. So you want to make sure you're careful with that. In the past, if you did the health screening and it did come back in your urine, then at that point, they would basically rate you as a smoker, and you get hit very hard on a smoker side. Okay. So again, some things have changed, but again, they're not going to give you the best rating based off if you do certain things. So did I answer your question, Vince?
Yeah, I mean, you're answering the questions. I just wanted to add in, I got a couple other things that keep going to. Appreciate the information on the riders. Like I said, I was always told, hey, buy the term, invest the rest. And then I realized that when I first did it, I didn't realize that I could have had a rider to convert some of what I purchased in term. And I did a huge umbrella. Basically, I did $800,000 when I was 32 years old. And I'm not fit. I was like a C or a D rating back then, and I'm probably a D rating now, right? And I was like, hey, if I had a rider, I could have turned around and converted some of that because term is so cheap. It's just as an example. I paid $130 a month for an $800,000 policy for 30 years, $130 a month, right? I mean, essentially that's $1,200 a year, $1,500 a year for $800,000. Now, granted, I would have had to pass away by 62. I bring that up for a different point. Even though I've been in this industry for as long as it is, I made a mistake in my life insurance planning. So just putting this out there, nobody thinks about disability insurance. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, as well as long-term care. So again, disability insurance, and hopefully they make some changes. It is very hard to get with a very good company. I don't want you guys to confuse it with Aflac. This is not the same. It's kind of similar, but it's not. Disability insurance will actually pay you if you become disabled. So if I make on a monthly basis, I bring home $7,500. Depending on the level of disability coverage that you get, you could either get your full amount of $7,500 a month or a certain percentage. So, and again, these are policies that you would pay into every month. So again, there is a health screening that's required, what type of industry you work in. So again, always think about it from this perspective. No insurance company wants to pay out. Let's just keep it what it is, right? From car to home to life, even health insurance. They
Correct.
really don't want to have to pay these policies. So they are going to do their due diligence to ensure that what you're seeing from a disability perspective to cover how much you make on a monthly basis, they're going to be able to say, hey, this person is healthy. The industry that they're in is not a life jeopardy like somebody that's on hanging off the side of a building cleaning windows. No. Okay. The wrong wind come through, you just not going to be here. So that's a very high risk industry. So certain industries is very hard for them to get coverage. Typically what they try to do is get them more whole life policies, and then they attach long-term care, a long-term care rider to those policies versus a disability or DI insurance to it.
Cool. I know we're trying to do both and get Dante back in here on this. I wasn't trying to take over on that. Like I said, I had a stroke and I structured everything for life and I forgot about the disability. And then when I look back at it, I was like, well, I would have had a little bit more and this would have been a little different, because Social Security, when they approve you, the disability insurance technically gets the Social Security check to deduct the premium. So it's not even what you think. So it's just a matter of actually how it's practiced and how it's done. And disability insurance kind of ends at 62 anyways from the private party, unless you had a rider to extend it and everything else that goes with it. So I know there's other ways too. I mean, obviously insurance is important for everybody. And the self-employed side, when you're running a business, you are the business, right? So if you don't have that insurance, maybe we could talk a little bit as to, are there differences for policies for businesses versus the individual person? How's that structured? Because majority of us out there in the real estate firm are self-employed or work in a commission based as a W-2 to a small business that doesn't provide those benefits.
So if you are, well, I'll use the example that you gave. So if we are a W-2 employee that's technically like treated as a contractor, you basically have to build all of this out yourself. So there's businesses that will pay the cost or the premium for you to have it, different types of insurance. And then there's, in our case, or in my case, I have to build it out myself. So that's understanding what you're looking for. So if we know that we're typically not in our health is pretty good, we're not in a very crazy type of work industry. And what I mean by that, we typically sit at a desk, we're doing, stuff behind the desk, typing on a computer. Then you may want to look into having a whole life policy, then attaching a long-term care addendum or a rider to it. Okay. And that long-term care rider will allow you, God forbid, if you do get sick, you're able to then pull money down to pay for whatever. If you need someone to come to the home and help you, if you need to go into a rehab facility, that rider, or you can get a standalone policy as well, can help in furnishing that cost. So you're not getting drained from your emergency fund or your savings. You would have that policy set up to assist you in that cost. So it just depends on where we are. If you are working for a company, then they are able, they being the company, able to get a tax liability if they turn around and offer that policy to all of their employees. So it's a couple different ways that can be worked, just depending on where that company is, as far as their amount of their revenue. Is it something that's going to make sense for them because it's going to bring down their tax liability by now offering maybe a long-term care policy or some type of DI insurance or even some whole life policy? But that's getting that set up, and then they get to talking about different rates, how much it's going to cost for them versus the employee. So it can, there's a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, right, you spend your whole life putting a business together. You get to later years, or you're in your later 40s or 50s, and you're like, I got 15 years left before I retire. and something happens medically, or you don't have the right insurance, the businesses look like, if you get put into public assistance, you don't get the public assistance if you have assets in the business. So if you don't protect it or you don't shelter it, you lose it. So you really have to think of that when you're opening up the business as to where to start and what's that long-term stuff look for. And again, insurance is insurance, right? We can go about that all day long, but that has to be part of it, because that type of expense would really almost shut a business down.
Not almost, it will. If you are the owner, you are the brains behind that operation. If something happens to you and you do not have the proper insurance for yourself, you have the proper employees around you, because there are, again, depending on the structure of your business, there are what is called the golden handcuffs, right? That is an insurance policy for that business owner. You are my top salesperson. You drive my business. If something happens to you or you leave, guess what? My business can shut down. Sure. So now I need to put an insurance policy in place to ensure that this person, I pay them very well, and then I lock them down to keep them at my company.
Dante, you hear this? No, I'm kidding.
Man. Got me thinking.
I like Yolanda out here. I'm the W-2 employee. How you doing, boss?
Man, it's good stuff. I mean, obviously, I knew this would strike a chord with you, Vince, and I knew this would be a great topic, and it can go. There's so much correlation between real estate and life insurance. So I know for the audience coming out there, like, hey, I thought this was a real estate show. It is, but I mean, a part of real estate has to do with how do we protect things? Yes. How do we protect what assets we do have? How do I have an asset? And so, we've broken down some abilities of having life insurance as a possible asset that you could tap into from a money situation. But now, what you guys are talking about is protection of your business, protection of your asset that you accumulate, which are real estate, investing, or how do partners, so if me and Vince buy a property together, and because, hey, we're going to go in on a property, well, what happens if Vince goes down? Yeah. Those are situations that it'd be great if we had some type of. Now, back in the day, they used to call it key man insurance. Is that still
there? Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that's what I hear you guys are, referencing. And that's all important stuff when we're dealing with real estate. We have to make sure we're protecting the exit strategy, right? I mean, ultimately, we have to have exit strategies on every endeavor that we walk into.
Yes. Yeah, and granted, this is on topic, but a little bit off the topic. I just want to throw this out there, and then we can get back to Dante's outline, because me and Yolanda probably went off the outline. If you care for an older parent and you're, let's say, in your 40s or your 50s, and you have a parent who may be looking to be placed in an assisted living facility or need nursing home, remember, they have look back periods to how much assets your parents had and everything else. So please make sure that you have that tough conversation with your parents, and you do that sheltering of those assets ahead of time, because it's a very difficult situation. Your parents don't want to hear their kids telling you, hey, you got this and this, and if this happens, all of this is gone. And when something happens medically, it's too late to move it. So just keep that information out there. Yolanda's obviously going to put her contact information for everybody. Reach out to whatever she may have.
Yeah. And that look back period is 5 years.
5 years. Yeah. My father had a stroke, a double stroke in 2016. And so we tried to, keep him in-house, and we were going to just, take care of him, but it just got to be too much. Right. And so February 2020, it was like, oh, this is too much. And we just look. But to your point, Vince, I mean, when we got him into a nursing home, I mean, man, they are just grabbing whatever he has, whatever assets, whatever pennies, nickels. I mean, there's nothing like, well, he had 3 kids. Can I save a little bit on the side? Like, man, how much does he have? Where is it? We want to see every bank account. We want to see every COLA, right? Cost of living adjustments. Yep. Everything just gets added up into these nursing homes. And I mean, that's just the way it is. And it's, it's definitely, it was eye-opening. And, we all go through this experience where we become the adult and our parents become our kids, and it just really depends on what age that actually occurs.
Yeah. The only problem with that one is we only have one shot. Well, 2, because you have 2 parents
Sure.
but you only have one shot of organizing it the right way for everybody.
Correct.
So just remember that.
Yeah.
Like same thing. I remember when I had to pay for a funeral. I was like, what? $20,000 for a funeral or whatever it was. It's like, oh, I didn't think it was this long. Well, I never experienced it before. Exactly. So I was like, okay, right. You just write the check. You didn't care it was what it was. And you didn't shop it. You don't look at price points. You had emotional attachment. It is what it is. You lost a loved one and you write a check. Same thing with you worked your life to put a business together and all of a sudden something happens. You could have planned things right and it didn't work out.
Well, the issue I think is because of the fact that, you're probably living for today and you're not planning for tomorrow. Right. And you don't want to think about negative thoughts like, oh, what if my mom dies? Or, is everything set? That's not really the opening conversation that, I want to bring up today. Like, hey, I'm going to call my mom and be like, hey, where's that life insurance policy when you pass away? Hey, what do you have saved up? Can we talk? Yeah, those are tough conversations. And those aren't things that are just naturally brought up in conversations. But we should. We have to get a little bit more comfortable about talking about finances. We have to be comfortable talking about these things. We just were not, really educated. To your point, Vince, schools didn't really teach us all these things, and then we have to adult, and adulting can be tough.
They're called life lessons for a reason, right? And if you don't pass it on, no one learns from it. And that's basically what it comes down to.
100%. And so hopefully this could be a platform. This could be a place where people can learn some stuff that you're not going to learn in the schools. You're not going to learn unless you're talking to professionals like Yolanda. Let's, this has been a great conversation, but let's make sure we get everyone's contact information. Yolanda, how can they get you?
You can reach me. I'm actually a partner at a company that is located in Beverly, Illinois, where we do taxes, tax strategy, bookkeeping, life insurance, credit, you name it, we probably do it. But we're located at 10031 Southwestern. And again, that's in Beverly, Illinois. My contact number is 708 539-2439. We are located on all social media platforms. That is actually TNT, like the dynamite, Financial Solutions. So again, that's TNT Financial Solutions. You can Google us. We're again located at 10031 Southwestern.
Awesome. Vince?
I'm going to save from posting the contact. I'm going to ask the audience for a favor. We've been doing this for almost 2 weeks now. I know we got loan officers in here, real estate in here. I know we have other, let's call it property investors, maybe some consumers. In the comments section, if you wouldn't mind, if you're a real estate agent, just put RE and what state you're in. Same thing for loan officers, if you can. Just want to see kind of what the numbers look like from a standpoint of who's attending in terms of what area, just for a concentration of the next show or shows to come in the future.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And also, too, this is streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. From a YouTube perspective, if you are on YouTube, if we can get a like from you and also subscribe to the channel, Epic Spotlight, we'd really appreciate that. Our goal right now is 2,500. We're trying to get to 2,500 subscribers. So if you can like it and go ahead and subscribe to the channel, we appreciate it. And any comments that you have towards, future shows and what you want us to talk about and discuss, always good to get your feedback. This show is meant for you. We got into a little bit of a tangent. We didn't go with the outline, but, I think that's our shtick. I'm always going to have that outline ready to go, but just in case, I understand. But yeah, well, let's go ahead at this point right now and answer questions. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got 15 minutes. You can get to your point 3 on the outline and we could get some questions answered.
Yeah, we're going to get these questions answered. I did talk about some preferred listings. Just due to time right now, go to www.danteroyster.com. Go there tomorrow morning and you'll see everything updated on all the preferred listings that I have. Go to DanteRoyster.com. That's DanteRoyster.com for those preferred listings. So I want you to check them out. If you're interested in buying one of those, we'd love to help you get pre-approved for it. It's got a calculator there too, so you can kind of play with some numbers. But let's get some of these questions answered for you guys. And please put the comments there. I know LinkedIn is having some issues, so they can't put comments necessarily, but you can just DM me on LinkedIn. Facebook, you should be able to, but if you're having issues, just let me know and we'll take it from there. And then YouTube, show your love and let us know what we can answer. So we got Jack, amazing episode. What's your top tip for first-time entrepreneurs? You want to tackle that, Yolanda? Top tip.
Sure. I'm like, who wants to take it? I would say top tip for first-time entrepreneurs: you structure your business correctly. It all starts with how you structure, coming from trying to get money, other people's money, loans. If it's not structured properly, understanding what an operation agreement is, that's very important, especially if you have partners. Knowing what you want to your first investment to be, and your personal credit. That's going to be a huge piece to a first-time entrepreneur. We hear a lot of things on social media. You can just use your EIN. Not to say that you can't, but you will be your grantor, you yourself, for your first-time business. If we don't have, because your business hasn't done anything, it hasn't made its first dollar, it hasn't acquired any debt. So they're going to look to your personal strength or your social security number and your personal credit to see what they will then extend to you. Now, there are a lot of different avenues like CDFIs. These are not your traditional banks, but they work a lot more with first-time homeowners, first-time entrepreneurs, as far as extending money to them to get startup costs, to make sure you get the right equipment, to make sure that you're able to, even if it's a payroll situation, you've been in business a little while, but guess what? Money is tight. You can't make payroll. So they are able to assist in that, but making sure your business is structured correctly, if not, can cost you a lot of money and headache in the future if you don't have it structured correctly.
I would always say the one thing I would say, the biggest tip for a first-time entrepreneur is understand who you are as an individual. Are you the creator? Are you the one that can make it happen, as far as a sales perspective, or are you more of a managerial role? What are your dynamic, and always make sure you hire to your weakness. So whatever you're not so
Very good
good at,
tip.
or what you struggle at, then make sure those are your first hires. So that was be my tip that I would recommend. We'll go to the next one. Appreciate the love from Branson Hill. Love the energy here. How do you balance growth with protection? I think that has to do with insurance. I'll let Yolanda, you can start off on that one.
Okay. So you want to make sure, when we say growth, are we talking financial? Or are we talking about employees, which is one of your biggest assets, especially if you have multiple employees? If we are looking at far as what the business is doing, then we want to make sure from a protection standpoint, we have things to cover us as the owner, as the brains behind the operation. So if I get sick, if I go down, who can make sure that the business will continue? Do I have enough insurance in place for healthcare? It's not cheap. So if we don't have any type of healthcare insurance, long-term care insurance, even a whole life policy, that funding will then, if we don't have that in place, guess where the money is coming from? You're going to drain it from your business, or you're going to drain it from your savings. So we want to make sure that we have the appropriate coverage for ourselves if it's just a one-man show. Or if we're talking about employees, right? We have our top salesperson. We have that top person that brings in all of the contracts. We need to keep them. So we need to make sure that we have the appropriate key man policy or golden cuffs in place to ensure that my business don't suffer while they may be looking to go elsewhere. I now have this policy in place that will cover that cost while I am trying to, bring on a new employee to fill in that void if they're getting ready to leave.
Awesome. Vince, anything on that one?
No, not really on that one, because I've always been more on the W-2 side from the self-employment side. But business is business, and protection's important, because without some form of protection, you're in trouble.
What I heard today from protection from both of you, I did hear, like, death, it has a cost, right? You talk about funeral, burials, how, are they going to be cremated? Are they going to have a casket? Those types of things, what location, all that stuff. I heard income, some type of multiplier based on how much money you make. I heard mortgage, to your point, Yolanda, with your policy, that if something were to happen to you, that the mortgage would be paid off. And then I think, obviously, I heard kids. And so, kids always, education, going to school, going to college, private school, those types of things. So
Sure.
I think that compilation right there, would probably give you an idea of just how much you would actually have to have.
Well, yeah, I mean, and granted, I know we're going to get to the questions, but just to touch on it, we talk about death, and the unfortunate part is when you're married, there's two incomes,
Exactly.
regardless of where they're at, right? There's two incomes. You know, whether you're a single parent or a divorced and you got kids, it's still two incomes to take care of the kids. And this
Correct.
comes into effect as you get older, especially for seniors. When something happens to that other aging spouse, and let's say they're 60, you go from one Social Security check, you go from 2 to 1.
Yeah.
And that haircut's a big haircut, right? That haircut's is big enough that it's going to deplete the assets. And that may be a topic for another show. But so, I mean, protection is the name of the game, right? Because without the protection, you're going to lose the business.
Correct. And also too, I mean, and that kind of goes into more financial planning in my mind. But, that's where I always think, we have to look at the portfolio of what you have and what you don't have. And so life insurance may play in it. Real estate, possibly could play a role in it. I mean, you have to kind of evaluate what you have in case stuff were to happen. It's like, in case something were to happen, what do you have? Because I think average, we'll look at it again another time, but Social Security average is like $1,800 per month.
You're dead on that number because I've done a lot of research to it. It's about $1,860 for actual Social Security at 67 for disability. Right. For disability in the state of Illinois, it's about $1,400 for people that wind up getting disabled before the actual retirement age.
Gotcha. So you have a husband and wife on average, somewhere around $36,000 to $4,000, and you get that chopped in half. And then you have these mortgage payments here, on average are $1,700. It's like, how are you going to pay that on just one of those? How are you going to pay it? You're not.
Right. I mean, and it almost comes down to, and granted, you don't see it until you do it, right? You won't know, or you won't realize you needed it until you need it, type of day. From the standpoint that regardless of what you have in assets, you can't keep up to what you would get for a lump sum deposit from that life insurance. You're going to burn, if you're using the assets, you're going to burn through it because you're pulling from money that you need to grow, and then you lose the growth. That's why the insurance is so important. It's even more important than what the balance is in the portfolio for the cost of what it is.
Yes, and I think that segues to really Damien's question. What's the first step in smart life insurance planning? Is really trying to determine how much money you need, and these are the kind of the calculations that we're talking about with death, with income, with mortgages, education. These are things are components that are going to be in your equation to kind of figure, well, how much do I need? Then we can look at what type of product will work best for me. Maybe it's best based on affordability. With the term policy, or maybe, hey, I can afford a little bit more and let me do something a whole life, or IUL, as you brought up. I've always been an advocate of the IUL, Vince, over the term, just because, I just don't see people having the discipline to do that extra. Hey, I know that I'm supposed to be paying $200 a month, but I'm going to take the term for $50. Do I have the discipline to take that $150 and apply it to investing? I don't see enough people having that discipline. That's almost like if you have a mortgage payment of saying, hey, I can show you how to pay this off in 15 years, but take the 30-year. Do they have the discipline to pay that additional amount of money on a monthly basis? I think the average is no. And that's why I always lean to just have them take that money from you and start investing for you.
I would come to say you're right, just because of the life experience of what happened, right?
Sure.
You can't have a big blanket policy like that when you're receiving different assistance. And by having the UIL, and granted, I didn't look at it like that, it's a bank, right? It gives you an automatic performance. It outperforms the market. It doesn't have a year of loss where you can have a year of loss in your investment account and then you have to restructure. So you're right. That whole thing of using it as a bank and having that permanent policy, that permanent dollar amount that goes to that policy is better than the investment in the long run. So for those that don't have a huge portfolio or a huge 401k, that should be a starting point. And I mean, if I look back at it, that would be probably a better option of what have happened.
I mean, A.L. Williams, the founder, would probably beat me up for saying that because he was all about term policies and then invest. But I just, like I said, to the point, I just don't see it on a regular basis that people have that discipline in them. And that's why I always say you're the best. You are truly the best financial advisor for yourself because you know you other than any other person. We could be professionals,
Yes,
but you know what's going to keep you up late at night. You know that you will have the ability to make these additional payments. And if you can't, you have to look into these products, these whole life, this variable or IUL products that, makes you feel comfortable. And at least it's being invested on.
Yeah. And if you start the UIL early enough, eventually it pays for itself.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, at the end, that's it. Right.
That is. Appreciate it, Justina.
yeah.
We're trying to bring value Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. We're here trying to bring value. So I appreciate that. John Morris, how can life insurance actually help a business grow? Well, that's an asset too, right? I mean, obviously, life
It is.
insurance within the business can be viewed as an asset.
Yeah. If it's a whole life, if it's a product that grows. So yes, certain banks will ask. They do ask that question: do you have a whole life insurance policy?
But it'd
So
be
that's
based on
how
but
the
would it
cash
be
value
based?
in it.
Yeah, the cash value. And then can
Yeah.
you actually have a policy in the business name?
Yes.
Okay.
So the
So
business would own it and pay for it, and then
correct.
you would be the person that would be insured.
Okay. And then can you transfer life insurance? So if I had an individual policy, could I transfer it to my business?
That one is a little different only because now we're switching from a social security number to an EIN, but it
Hmm.
can be done. Not all insurance companies do it though.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. All right. So there you go with that one. Thanks for breaking this down so clearly. What's one myth about business protection?
What's one myth? Oh, that's a good question. Let me sit here and think about it. Business protection.
I haven't seen Olivia's name, Vince, so I appreciate Olivia you listening on.
That's a good one.
So
I'm trying to
she
think. What is
stumped
one of
all
the
of us,
myths?
right?
Thanks for bringing this
Right.
down.
I'm
What's one
like,
myth about business protection? Hmm, I
I
don't think
mean,
I don't know any myth.
yeah, I don't know any.
Yeah, I have to.
Unless
I'll do.
she's heard of something and she wants to see
Yeah,
if it's a myth.
I know. I think. I mean, obviously, from a business, you want to protect the business, and life insurance would be one of the ways to protect it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean,
And
so I
then there's
guess
different types of business insurance. So, yeah, I don't know any. That's a very good question. She's gonna make
but
maybe if maybe she could point out to something that may have happened to her business if she wants to.
yeah.
And then maybe we can revisit that.
awesome. All right, let's go to the next one. Dixon, love these actionable tips. How do you know when you're ready for expansion? That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, those are questions I'm willing to ask other businesses. When do you know? I don't know if you ever know. I just know, like, what you need. I guess, let me step back. I would say this from a business perspective, you have to have an end vision of what you see your company trying to be. And little by little, you're going to feel it. I think it's a feeling of like, I feel or an action happens. My virtual assistant says she's retiring in October. And so it's like, oh, I need to replace her. Okay. So now let's reevaluate everything that she does. And so when I do that reevaluation, it's a lot. And then I'm like, am I 100% satisfied? I am, but do I want more? Of course. So now
Yeah.
if I want more, I can say, okay, what are the additional tasks? And then now can I find that in one person or how many people? And so my personal journey says I need two people to do what I really want that position to do. So then that's a way I know I need to expand. And before you know it, you blink up and you have 13, 14 people around you, and you're like, oh my gosh. So I mean, I think it's a feel, but it also comes based upon a vision that you have where you want your business to be, and then you need to go get it.
I would
Go
touch
ahead.
on one thing on that. The numbers don't lie. Your numbers
Oh,
will tell your numbers will tell you when you're ready for expansion.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then great insight. They must know Yolanda is also a bookkeeper. How often should a business review its bookkeeping strategy?
I'm going to say, depending on the industry, minimum once a quarter. I actually have some clients that we talk every month because they just have that many things or that many irons in the stove. So again, understanding what that means and what expenses are coming along with that, what income is flowing in to make sure that they're able to support it. So just again, depending on the industry, what's going on with the business, but minimum once a quarter.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, we hit the hour note, and I do see on the bottom we've had 2 LinkedIn users, basically chime in. So I appreciate that. But, I love to get some LinkedIn love. So it looks like, LinkedIn 100%. You can send in comments to us. YouTube, you can send in comments. We will figure out the Facebook, but I think you can on Facebook as well. I tried to make some tweaks during this one. But so super cool to see some LinkedIn followers. Definitely. We're here 12 to 1 Central Standard Time every day. And just so you know, the featured property page on DanteRoyster.com is available. So for listings, preferred listings that I can help you buy, these listing agents know who I am. So when that pre-approval comes, you might get your offer accepted quicker than something else. Definitely check out those listings. Great opportunities there. We'll be back next week. Vince, we made it the first week all the way through.
Yeah,
we made it.
Did. And we had a return guest, so we're doing okay. So,
yeah,
Yolanda, thanks for being on the show today, and thanks to the audience for participating. Appreciate it. I will be back next week with Dante. We'll do some teasing on Monday as to what the week looks like. But thanks for joining us today, and everyone have a good rest of the week.
Yes.
Yeah, have a great weekend, everybody. Stay epic. Have an epic day. And, man, you know what? Just put something in the comments to either Yolanda, Vince, or myself. Just let us know, that we're doing a good job and what other stuff you want to see. And hopefully, Yolanda, you'll come back. We love having you. Love having these interesting talks. This was great today.
Of course.
Awesome. All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.